Hello and welcome to the Restidpodcast, where we explore travel time rather than destinations and the joys and surprises of shared transport. For many, travelling on buses, boats and trains is now a lifestyle choice. My name's Mark Selby. I love the theatre of travel, discovering the stories of journeys and learning how people use their travel time. You know, it's much easier to meet people on public transport than sitting alone in our cars. Waiting for a train at Oxford Station, I went to one of the round metal tables inside the station hall. It's a great spot for talking with interesting strangers, as passing musicians, of which there are many in Oxford, play the piano in its midst. The tables have 3 metal seats fixed to the floor. A woman sat at one seat, looking at a leaflet. The second was covered with hazard warning tape, but the third seat was empty. I asked the woman if it was free. She said yes, and joked at the apparent danger of the taped one. Neither of us could determine what exactly was wrong with the dangerous seat. Perhaps it had an ejection mechanism. We laughed, and I noted her New Zealand accent, and an interesting conversation began. In this exchange, both of us had established a degree of trust from a question, a response, and a chuckle. We spoke the same language, and a dialogue began that either one of us could have ended easily and politely if we wanted. She and her partner were taking different routes crossing the world. He was currently working as a volunteer with the Red Cross in Asia. She was visiting family in the UK for the first time in 5 years, had stayed in Oxford for a few days, and was now off to see her sister in a small village near Newbury. She shared her observations on changes in England since her last visit, and how everywhere felt so busy. We talked about New Zealand and how the demise of local train services had resulted in car dependency there. We talked about islands in the Pacific. My son had visited and enjoyed Fiji, but she preferred Tahiti for its beauty and excellent cuisine. It's funny how food can provide an excellent conversation topic. Not the wretched fast food served at station kiosks by sad-looking people, but rather the sharing of simple recipes, dining experiences, and foods between travellers. I've heard many stories of bus passengers in rural areas baking small cakes or buying chocolates to share with the bus driver and fellow passengers on birthdays or at Christmas. Communities on wheels. As for recipes, the one I've been sharing recently is for a whipped Feta Dip. It's delicious and easy to make. Feedback from listeners has confirmed its appeal. It takes just a few minutes to make, and I'll be happy to send you the recipe. Email me at restidpodcast@gmail.com, and you'll soon be enjoying a great dip. You'll probably serve it with bread, crackers, or vegetables. These might include carrots, whose reputation for improving eyesight has long been a legend in Britain. Kevin in Copenhagen reminded me that the legend began during the Second World War. Wanting to keep the use of new radar systems a secret, the Royal Air Force claimed the sharp vision and accuracy of its bomber pilots was due to their regular diet of carrots. It wasn't. It was the radar. After the war, there were stories of former Allied pilots who could not face eating carrots again. Kevin noted that the Danes often consume food on train journeys, and that raw carrots are popular. All well and good, but as trains became smoother and quieter, the loud consumption of raw carrots started to annoy other passengers. Thank goodness for the Danish sense of humour. The story reminds me of David Ogilvy's 1957 advertising slogan, "At 60 miles an hour, the loudest noise in this new Rolls-Royce comes from the electric clock." I don't expect train companies to claim the loudest noise on your rail journey will be the crunching of a carrot, but anything's possible. Conversations with strangers, however brief, can be wonderful, memorable, and help address the loneliness and anxiety which are sadly endemic today. Malin from Sweden lives in London. She's a regular train user, and once, sitting on a platform near Manchester, she spoke to an elderly lady beside her who was also waiting for a delayed train to the south. Malin asked her about her journey. She replied that she'd come up to see her sister, who was dying. She started crying and explained this was the first time she'd told anyone about her sister's condition. Malin says she's never been so grateful for a train's late arrival. The two of them went for a cup of tea and a comforting chat. The transience and anonymity of public transport somehow embolden people to speak openly and with refreshing honesty. Unlike driving a car, we're in the midst of people to whom we can listen and talk with. Similar opportunities might exist for motorists pulling off the road, but the difference between railway stations and roadside service stations seems twofold: timing and commonality. Watch people filling a train platform, arriving before the train, then boarding, and all disappearing together. By contrast, in a roadside service station, we arrive and depart at different times on our way to many different destinations. We maintain the physical isolation of motorists who've been driving alone within the service station, where that same wretched fast food is served at counters by sad-looking people. So some things are common. One of the few places where I see fellow motorists talking with each other is on ferries. Here, the timing and commonality of our journeys more closely resemble those of public transport. Foot passengers on ferries are interesting. They'll often move around the boat while sailing to enjoy different views, catch the sun, or shelter from the elements. The scope for conversation seems plentiful, especially if refreshments are served on board. And passengers on DFDS ferries in the Baltic alone eat about 200 tons of fruits, berries, mushrooms and vegetables each year, and over 50 tons of bread. The term breaking bread has long been a metaphor for discussions and bringing people together. We have something to share and talk about. Quite apart from its religious symbolism in many cultures, breaking bread is an important step in a relationship with someone. But those relationships need to start somewhere, and somehow. Many people find it difficult to initiate conversations with strangers. It's a pity because the rewards can be wonderful. In the west of England, 74% of locals say they would love to be better at making small talk, and 90% say that having a conversation with a stranger brightens their day. The author Dan Gabor suggests there are 4 principles to starting and maintaining a conversation. First, take the initiative to reach out to others. Second, show genuine interest in people. Third, treat others with respect and kindness. Fourth, value others and yourself for having much to share and offer each other. You might remember the advice given by Susan from California. I quote, "It's remarkable finding how easy it is to draw stories from strangers. You show interest. You ask a few leading questions. You genuinely listen, not to immediately turn the conversation back to your own story. That, I found, is crucial. The urge to share our own stories is strong and must be resisted." End quote. Don't worry if we get it wrong, feel embarrassed or rejected. That transience of public transport means we're unlikely to see the person again. We all make mistakes, and sometimes the mistakes make the conversation. For myself, I recently ran from my house to take an offered lift to a station. It was only when I was standing on the platform that I realized I was still wearing my house slippers. They prompted some very funny conversations. One revenue officer said she thought they were hippie boots. I keep looking at them, wondering what she meant. Mistakes can make an encounter. The most memorable dinner parties we've attended are often the ones that had glorious mistakes, accidents, laughter and simplicity, not those with the best table decorations, food or wine. If a fellow traveller has significant luggage, the chances are they're on or returning from an adventure. They'll almost certainly be keen to talk about it. This week I saw a couple with several bags, clearly handling one bag carefully. In response to my simple question, "Off to somewhere nice?" I learnt they were off to celebrate an anniversary at the hotel in Bruges where they'd spent their honeymoon. The special bag contained their champagne and elaborate picnic for the train journey. We chatted about the sights and joys of Bruges before they happily wandered off to their train. It's strange what people do carry in stations. Jackie from Keynsham was struggling between platforms with a heavy case to get her connection. A kind fellow helped her and remarked on the weight of the case. "What have you got in here?" he said. Slightly embarrassed, Jackie replied, "A pig." She was taking a prepared suckling pig to a barbecue. I know, because I was at the barbecue. It's surprisingly easy to start and maintain conversations with strangers. It's also easy to pause or end them politely. And public transport is an excellent environment for chats with kind, interesting, and possibly funny people. They can make us feel good, and they'll almost certainly appreciate our interest in their stories. The chats rarely happen when we're driving alone in our cars. Thank you to everyone that's sending in stories to share. They're wonderful. If you have a story or feedback for Rested, please email restidpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, enjoy your travels. Thank you for listening to the Rested Podcast. Please subscribe on your preferred podcast service and share with a friend. I look forward to hearing from you and sharing your travel stories. Please email restidpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks to everyone that has contributed to Rested so far. Enjoy your travel time.